Yesterday I finally finished the last bit of knitting on this jumper that I'm trying to make. I started it before Christmas and I've been spinning by hand the sheep fleece that I got at a sheep shearing. The thing is, it's taken so much longer than I realised. I knew it would be slow. Partly why I did it was because I wanted to experience how long it would take to make something just completely by hand, but it's still taken a long time. I don't actually know if it's going to turn out into a usable garment yet, but I'm going to soak these pieces. I've made a front, a back and two sleeves. Because it's handmade, hand spun yarn, they are biasing a little bit because of the twist in the yarn. I've heard that if you soak the finished knitting and then pin it to dry in the shape you want, that can reduce some of the biasing and relax the fibers and take out some of the tension. So I'm going to try that. There's a lot of variation as well across the different pieces. Like the first piece I knitted, the yarn I think was a bit thicker because I think I hadn't managed to perfect a really fine yarn. So the first bit is probably a bit chunkier than the last bit that I did, which feels finer and more delicate. And there's also a lot of colour variation because of the different colours in the fleece of the sheep. But this is all stuff that I'm actually really happy about. That really gives this a feeling of life, of having gone through the process of being made, and I've been interacting with it the whole time. So I love to see that. That's kind of the point of this project. I ordered some tree rootstock, which is what you need for grafting apple trees. We have some very old trees in the orchard on the farm, varieties that you probably can't buy anymore. I want to try and clone these trees by grafting a piece of adult tree to new rootstock. This means cutting twigs and tightly wrapping them onto the stem of the rootstock. In spring, the two plants should grow into one tree, with the apple part on the top. This is actually how all apple trees are made. All apple trees of the same variety are actually clones. It was quite fiddly to bind the stems together, so I will have to wait until spring to see if these grafts have worked and if the trees start to grow. I've just stitched my jumper front and back together down one side. I've left the other side open because the next thing I have to do is put on a collar. So I need to pick up stitches all along the neckline and then knit a few rows of rib so that there's like a nice collar around the jumper. Then I can stitch up the other side. I finished the hand spun jumper and it actually fits. I'm really pleased with how it looks. I also finished sewing the jacket I started. I'm hoping to also make a dress for spring using the same material. few weeks ago, before all the leaves came off the trees, I went around the farm and I marked up with a bit of red tape a lot of tiny trees that have started sprouting by themselves. They're basically just growing naturally from, I guess, acorns that have been planted by birds or just seeds that have fallen on the ground and germinated. And what I want to do is save these trees. Most of them are in not good locations for them to grow long term. They are ones that have germinated naturally. I think that that is a sign that the seed was one of the better ones, or at least one of the ones most suited to this environment. I would really like to transplant these ones and then grow them up into full trees. So I read that the best time to move something like this is in the winter when they're dormant. So I've marked them all up so I can recognize which is a tree that I want to save. Most of them are oak trees. And I'm going to now dig them up and put them in pots and hopefully get them to grow on a bit until I find a good location and they're strong enough to be planted out in their permanent home. This particular tree was so hard to pull up. It took me ages to loosen it. I don't know whether it's a virtue or a vice that I just won't give up on something like this. I can't give up. I took a trip to Glen Nevis in Scotland for winter climbing with my mountaineering club. I wanted to take some photos of my finished jumper, and while I was climbing on this rock, I saw a sheep watching me. I showed him my jumper and he seemed quite interested. It probably smells like sheep to him. It's really windy and so cold here, but I'm still going to get into this river behind me because it just looks amazingly fresh and clear. We spent some days climbing the mountains around Glen Nevis. We climbed a few gullies filled with snow, one of them on Ben Nevis, and this was the first time I've been to the summit of Ben Nevis, which is the highest mountain in Britain. I even got to use the axes on some ice, which was really exciting. It was an amazing trip with great people and a fantastic end to the winter. I didn't manage to film much in the harsh conditions, but here are some photos.